All right. Away we go. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, October 27th, 2025 meeting of the City of Worcester Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Jordan Burke Powers and I will chair tonight's meeting. The meeting of the Worcester Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted in a hybrid manner with both in-person and remote participation. As a preliminary matter to tonight's meeting, I would like to confirm the board members and staff who are present. Board members, I will call your name. Please respond in the affirmative. Board Member Abramov? Here. Board Member Campanello?
Here.
Board Member Barnhagen? Here. Board Member Sacco?
Here.
And Board Member Torcono. I think we heard him. Board Member oh, great. And city staff, Victor?
Present.
Amy Beth?
Present.
And David Horton?
Present.
All right. Before we start, a few housekeeping notes. Tonight's meeting is being live streamed, we hope, from the City of Worcester website, and the recording will be available for rebroadcast. This is a public meeting, which means that it is being recorded and that minutes will be taken and published at a later date. The public may participate remotely by calling 1-669-254-5252. Again, that number is 1-669-254-5252. Access code 160-456-4634. Hashtag, again, that's access code 160-456-4634, or using the link shown on the screen. Once an item is called, there will be a brief presentation of the item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff, and then an opportunity from anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to board discussion and action. To manage remote participation during our hybrid meetings and prevent disruptions, all participants are automatically blocked from unmuting themselves, turning on their video, or sending chat messages. For remote participation who would like to comment on an item on our agenda, we ask that you use the raise your hand feature in Zoom during the discussion on that item. If you're joined by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Again, if you are on your phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Staff will then call on members of the public one at a time, give them permission to unmute themselves. If you are joined by phone, you will then be able to unmute yourself by pressing *6. Again, that's *6. Please note the board appreciates brevity in your comments. To help with the process, we ask all speakers and participants in person to use a microphone. Please clearly identify yourselves each time you speak. And the first time you speak, please state the city of town of residence for the record. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair, that's me, rather than directly to any of the other speakers or applicants. Applicants should be aware that approvals are generally conditional. Decisions are typically signed by the board at the next meeting and filed with the city clerk the following day, beginning the appeal period. It is the applicant's responsibility to address any conditions of approval, and lack of doing so may result in delays or enforcement. Please contact the Planning Division with any questions. Any party aggrieved by a decision of the board has the right to appeal under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 17. There are a number of items in our agenda being continued or postponed tonight, which I will read through shortly. If you are here on one of those items, please note that there is no additional notice will be sent to you before the next meeting. The best thing to do is call the Planning Division the day prior to our next meeting to confirm if the item will be heard or postponed that night, as it is not uncommon for items to be postponed multiple times before they are heard by this board. For the purposes of streamlining the board meeting, I will ask Board Member Campanello to make any motions, and that Board Member Abramov second any such motions. If in the event either members prefer not to do so, I'd simply ask that you identify another member to do so. All right, we have one continuance and 3 postponements. The first item for continuance is number 117 Montclair Drive, a request to continue the public hearing to November 17th, 2025, and extend the constructive deadline to December 9th, 2025. And 3 postponements. Postpone number 4, item number 4, 91 Cambridge Street. Request to postpone the public hearing to November 17th, 2025, and extend the constructive deadline to December 9th, 2025. Item number 6, 264 Shrewsbury Street. Request to postpone the public hearing to November 17th, 2025, extend the constructive deadline to December 9th, 2025. And item number 7, 172 and 174 Shrewsbury Street. Again, request to postpone public hearing to November 17th, 2025, and extend the constructive deadline to December 9th, 2025. Is there such a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to continue item 117 Montclair Drive and postpone item 4, 91 Cambridge Street, item 6, 264 Shrewsbury Street, and item 7, 172 through 174 Shrewsbury Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Bromoff,
Yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Bart Hagan,
Yes.
Board Member Turcono? Yes. My vote's yes. Yes. Thank you. We got it. All right. If you are here for number 1, number 4, number 6, or number 7, please contact the planning division, get their contact info, and they can let you know when it will be heard. As I see no one getting up, I guess you're not here for that. Great. If you're online for that, that's fine. All right. So we are on number 2, 14 Emery Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Donald O'Neill. I'm a lawyer here in Worcester, here this evening on behalf of Gold Star Builders in connection with this property at 14 Emery Street. We did appear before you, as you'll recall, I think 2 meetings ago. But we did, after that meeting, go back and come up with a new proposal, which basically is for 3 units as opposed to the previous proposal, which was for 4. And I would remind the board that the lot has 11,673 square feet of land, which is just shy of what would be the requirement for 4 spaces by right. And also we have 124 feet of frontage. The new proposal basically is for 3 units, and that does also reduce the relief that we're requesting. There's the relief for single-family attached dwellings that does require a special permit, so that applies to all 3 lots. Lot 2 has special permit relief related to the driveway setback. Typically, they look for 3 feet between the property line and the driveway edge. We've got, I believe it's 1.4 feet in this case, and also the impervious area is slightly over the maximum allowed for that provision. But if you look at all 3 lots together, we're well in excess of the 50% provision, and that is typically also always a problem with a triplex, given the 0 lot line of the building to maintain a 3-foot buffer. And also with respect to Lot 3, Lot 3 actually is just the relief that's required for the use itself. And I stand corrected for a minute. There is also a special permit required for the landscaping on Lot 1 as well. And again, that's 1.4 feet. We did submit new plans that have been reviewed by staff. I have reviewed staff's memo. And I have no objection to the conditions other than a clarification on recommended provision 1E, which just deals with the rear facade of the building, that wasn't the intent when the plans were developed. The mansard roof will continue across the rear of the property. We're not going to be putting dormers. The windows themselves will be built into the mansard, which is more typical of, in those cases anyway, as opposed to a doghouse dormer. And we will also do banding with respect to the siding, and we will take a look at the windows on the first floor. We're looking at the rear of the building. That is a garage and a laundry room, so there's some limitation in terms of what windows could be provided. But it looks like on the far left, we could probably move the window from the side over to the back for purposes of symmetry, possibly make the windows a little bit larger than what's shown. But we will, if approved, be going to site plan approval with the planning board, and that would be another opportunity to review that situation with them. There are 4 waivers that have been listed by staff as being required on page 6. I would request those waivers. And as I say, other than the clarification on the additional work to the rear of the building, I have no objection to the other conditions. And I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
City staff.
Thanks so much through the chair. This is Amy Beth Lee for the Planning Division. Just by way of a refresher, presently on the premises is a vacant lot with a foundation from a previously raised structure, and the lot is located in the RL7 zoning district. Since this item was last before the board on September 15th, the applicant has revised the proposal and now seeks to divide the subject property into 3 lots and construct 3 single-family attached dwellings, 1 on each newly created lot, and to conduct associated site improvements. The reduction in scope has eliminated the need for relief from the lot area requirements, but has introduced new relief with the applicant unable to meet the landscaping requirements on Lot 1 and 2. And as the applicant stated, on Lot 1, there's a need for a special permit for the single-family attached dwellings and a special permit to modify the parking and dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements for the parking setback, because residential driveways must be set back a minimum of 3 feet from all boundary lines, and the landscaped setback area between the driveway and the southern lot line is 1.4 feet. On Lot 2, a variance for relief, I still have a variance for relief of 200 square feet from the 3,000 square foot minimum lot area requirement for a single-family attached dwelling in an RL7 zoning district. A special permit to allow the single-family attached dwelling use, and a special permit to modify the parking and dimensional layout and landscaping requirements for the parking setbacks. As stated, the landscape setback area south of the driveway is 1.4 feet. And then the impervious area in the front yard requirements, impervious and semi-impervious surfaces shall not occupy no more than 50% of the front yard or exterior side yard areas of a lot in an RL7 zoning district, and the impervious surface is proposed to encompass 73% of the front yard. And then Lot 3 is the special permit to allow the single-family attached dwelling use. Staff notes that the applicant could reduce the width of the driveways to meet the required landscaping setbacks and impervious surface thresholds. The applicant could also consider a flared driveway that allows access into the garage, but narrows as it meets the street. Staff is still concerned how work will be completed without disturbing the right-of-way in La Chapelle Street. However, as the applicant noted, this item will be before the planning board for site plan review, and that issue can be addressed at that time. And as the applicant also reviewed the proposed rear elevation, staff noted that the proposed rear elevation of the architecture is flat, including none of the architectural features on the front side of the facade. So in conversation with the applicant, as he stated, he will continue the mansard roof and will contrast colors in banding for the siding, and will also evaluate the placement of ground floor windows. Worth noting that by right, this site has sufficient lot area to be divided and build 2 single-family dwellings, and then each could have an ADU for a total of 4 units, which would be 2 units on each lot. or one single-family semi-detached dwelling, a duplex, with an ADU for each unit, which would also be a total of 4 units, or a two-family dwelling by right with an ADU, one ADU, because a two-family would be one lot, for a total of 3 units. This wouldn't require any relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals at all unless the setbacks for the primary structures or the ADUs could not be met. If approved, staff is recommending an additional shade tree in each of the lot's rear yards, and that any trees within the first 6 feet of the roadway be relocated elsewhere on the lot in case, in the future, a sidewalk would be constructed. If there are any proposed balconies or roof overhangs, those should be reflected on the civil plans, and a white or reflective roof coating should be applied unless the applicant is intending to have a solar roof. Staff also conditioned the rear elevation architecture suggestions along with the other standard conditions. Thank you.
All right. Is anyone here for 14 Emery Street? All right, please come forward. Just state your name and city of residence.
Hello, everybody, Mr. Chairman and the board. My name's Stephen Manna. I live at 24 La Chapelle Street. Been there up there for 37 years now. It's directly across the street from the proposed construction. And unfortunately, some of my neighbors weren't able to make it tonight, and they were having trouble zooming in as well. So I can speak for some of them. We all got together and have been having conversations. And we still think that 3 is excessive in that neighborhood. It would cause a lot of congestion, especially in the wintertime. It just doesn't seem to fit in the neighborhood that has just duplexes and single-family homes. And I've been up there 37 years, and the winters up there are bad enough with people with vehicles coming and going, and this at least 6 more vehicles up there would really cause a snarl. And I'm worried about the infrastructure and actually the construction. If he's going to have to drill and stuff too, we're worried about our foundations and our walls in our houses, and it's just it'll be very congestive, and I think it'll be very disruptive to the neighborhood. I would welcome a duplex there. It would fit nicely. It would really round out the neighborhood well. And but we think 3 is still excessive. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on forward.
Pauline Legore from 8 Emery Street. I'll just kind of echo what what Steve said. I think this unit is going to be, 3 stories high with the garage on the basement floor. It really takes away the privacy of the surrounding properties. Right now, like he was saying, it's all single family or duplexes. Everyone really feels their own sense of privacy. This is taking up that entire lot, looking into my backyard, looking into the property behind its backyard. There's really no sense of privacy anymore.
Thank you. Just confirming, I think you said Worcester?
Yeah,
Right?
sorry, Worcester.
Just for the record, thank you very much. Is there anybody else here for 14 Emery Street and anything else you want to add? You have to use the come up at least so you can be heard. Yeah, we're gonna give them a second. I just wanted to give anybody else in the room, and then we'll go to the Zoom. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, Victor, is anybody else online?
There are 3 folks online that have raised their hands to speak. So let's start with Rogerio. Rogerio, I'm going to give you the authorization to unmute yourself, and then please give us your name and your address. Yes.
Property talking about today. I also agree that 2 homes will be more consistent with the established density and character of the neighborhood. I think 3 is really excessive. especially on the road where a lot of kids play on the road all the time. I think putting 6 new vehicles over there would be kind of endangering those kids a little bit. Also, in regard of the privacy, I think a two-home plan allows more, responsible spacing and design, and it would respect the privacy of the existing residents over there. The two units, two of those units will be looking straight into my backyard, so my privacy will be completely gone. And plus, it will block a lot of sunlight coming to my yard. So, that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is going to be Mohammed. Mohammed, I'm going to give you the ability to unmute yourself. Please give us your name and your address.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mohammed. I live on 1 Calhare Street. The lot, I believe, is suitable for at least just 2 homes. 3 would be too much, as my neighbors have mentioned before me. With 3, it will be just too many cars going in and out. The winter time is very horrible on the street. If anybody has seen the street, it's very congested. With a lot of cars even getting stuck in snow. Besides that, I think total about 12 to 15 kids who are minors under the age of 18 live around the area. Some of them are under 10, majority of them. So it'll be not safe with that much traffic for the kids either. So that's why I'm against at least, I'm against 3. 2 would be fine on that size of lot and that area.
Okay, thank you.
The next person is going to be Mrs. Kantanka. I'm going to give you the ability to unmute yourself and then give us your name and your address.
My name is Patricia Kantanka, and my address is 5 Calahare Street. I also agree with the concerns that my neighbors have. I have 2 main issues: is the privacy issue and the congestion, especially during the winter. It's going to be very bad because of the kids. And then it's like a single family home community. We have like very little kids. Most of the kids are under 10. So I think for the size of the lot, I think just 2 is fine. I think 3 is a stretch. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all we have for folks online.
Mr. Chairman, I would just point out, of course, the board understands that a 2-family is a by right situation, and 2-family with 2 ADUs is 4 units. I think in a by right situation, I mean, what we're proposing, I think given the size of the lot is reasonable. There is a 2-family dwelling would require 8,000 square feet and 70 feet of frontage. And a lot of that size with 2 additional ADUs located, on the property. I think the staff has gone through and as conditions of approval suggested a lot of quite a bit of tree planting, which again would not be necessarily available if we went the by right route. And I would also say that there is, as was pointed out in the last meeting, I'm not sure how many units there is, but there's a multifamily almost directly across the street from this, closer to Grafton Street, but a pretty good sized building. And I think that the other duplexes that are in the neighborhood they're not small duplexes, they're pretty large. So I'm not sure that, with respect to the statements in terms of this being primarily single family. And also, what we're proposing is a single family attached, with the understanding or expectation that that would allow for individual purchases, probably families that would be purchasing these units, which is the same as, other single-family dwellings. They're just closer to each other. And there is, I would say, we meet all of the setbacks if you go around the property lines with some additional tree planting that's proposed. That we feel that this is in keeping with the zoning ordinance and not out of line with what's already out there in terms of the neighborhood. It's also very close to Grafton Street. So I think that this is an appropriate design for this location, and that it's not inconsistent with what's there. And also helps to meet the need for additional housing in this situation, which has the area and frontage required for additional unit. It's just configured in this manner that it necessitates the relief that we're requesting. So we would ask for approval.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, just nothing too repetitive, but please come forward. Just state your name again for the record. Some more people online? Okay. Thank you very much. Yep. Go ahead, please.
I didn't quite understand what he was just talking about, but in regards to the multifamily unit he's talking about, it's not across the street. It's on the corner of Arcadia and Emery. It's been there for years. It was grandfathered in. It wouldn't be, I don't think it would be allowed to be in that area right now, but that's been there for years. It's been there since I've been there. And I'd like a little better explanation as opposed to what they submitted the plans, and then they were talking about changing various things on the plans, but I'm not clear on what they mean.
Sure. So besides the last time where they had 4 units and this time they have 3 units, the other piece that they're talking about changing is the roofing. So currently, in the first designs that they put forward, there was sort of flat roofing, and the city asked that there be more breaking up of the back of the units, so it doesn't just look like a flat sort of mass, and as well as more uniform across the three buildings for the roofing. And so the applicant agreed to do that. Additionally, the city asked for there to be a window on the first floor, which is where the garage is currently, and the applicant agreed to look into either creating bigger windows or possibly a window on the first floor. And the last piece that the city requested is tree plantings. So if this were to go forward by right, there'd be no sort of oversight on trees. But the city, because this is before us, is asking for a 1-for-1 for trees. So when a tree comes down, a tree would have to go up, and it would do so not in the front where a possible sidewalk might someday, at some point, maybe appear. So those are some of the things that got talked about here today.
Are there plans to put a sidewalk, though? Is it?
I don't believe so. I think it's just that the city's hoping someday that there might be, and we'll see. But that's actually a good question for the city.
Because it's actually, the street is Emery Street itself is 25 feet wide. They put a sidewalk there, and you're crunching.
Yeah, it's smaller. Having been there, I was
crunching 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag here. But thank you for the explanation.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a great question. Not up to us on whether or not there's a sidewalk there. I agree with you. Victor, if you could go ahead and let the person who's raised their hand speak.
Sure. So we'll take Gianni Troiano, who's online. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. Just make sure to give us your name and your address. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, this is Gianni Soriano. I live at 5 Benoit Street, pretty much across from the complex, that is planned to get installed. And it's just such a large structure compared to everything else that's around the area. Obviously, aside from that one on Arcadia Street, it doesn't fit in the area. And, in terms of traffic, I'm in agreement with everybody else that's been speaking. The traffic is going to be worse. Kids play over there in the neighborhood. It's just a lot of more cars coming in. And the structure that they propose is it's massive. It's 3 stories high. It's really large for that area. And I mean, and all the setbacks that they need, obviously, they know it's a big proposal, and they wouldn't be requiring all these approvals if it was not. So I'm in agreement with everybody that's spoken so far. It's too big for the neighborhood. 2 fits there. They had one originally there. It was a single family that was torn down and removed, and I understand the need for housing, so I think 2 would be sufficient, but 3 is just pushing it. It's extreme, and it's too big for the area, and all the neighbors. I mean, this thing is going to tower over all the neighbors' house, looking in all the windows, and I think 2 would be okay for the neighborhood, but 3 is just pushing it. Pretty much it.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else online that'd like to speak? Just notify the city staff.
Mr. Chairman, could I just say one thing?
Yes, please, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, it's 2 stories, and it meets the height limitation in an RL7, which is the same as an RS7, is 35 feet. And the lower level, it's a garage under, but, it's actual 2 living stories and complies with the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
It's the same 2 people again, but
The same 2 people?
2 people that have already spoken.
Okay. We'll allow you to speak, but just ask that it not be repetitive.
Okay, Rogerio, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself.
You hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Again, it's just that I think allowing frequent density of a single lot, I understand it's a large lot. I do have a large lot myself, but I think allowing triple the density over there, it would really not be in characteristics of what we have over there right now. And I think approving that will also be a precedent for overdevelopment in other areas too. So, that's my comment. That's why I would like the board to consider not approving that.
Okay, thank you.
And Gianni, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. Oh, you're already unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, and I'm in agreement with that as well. I mean, it says it's two stories, but if you've ever seen one of these units, it's actually 3 stories. You got the garage, which it's non-livable, they say, but then they have rooms down there as well. But it's actually 3 stories from grade if you actually look at one of these units, and like I said, it towers over the houses that are nearby. So it is in fact 3 stories. Yes, it might be in compliance, but if you actually looked at one of these, it's actually 3 stories. And that's all I have to say on that. And it should be 2 units there, definitely not 3. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
And Keller Street, Worcester, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself.
Hi, so my name is Juliana, and I'm talking from 3 Callihan Street, and on behalf of my family, and I'm also agreeing with my fellow neighbors. That building is going to be massive. It's not going to be just what you think we are talking about. So we are all worried about congestion here. We're worried about the safety of our children, safety of the neighbors, because most of the buildings over here are single family or just a group. Now, if you're going to add what we are planning to do, it's going to be very congested in this area. Even during winter time is no joke, you know? So now, if they're gonna add this to it, it's gonna be very overwhelming for the neighbor. And that's when people start to have, disagreements and all, fighting and all of that. So we have to find a way to be more safer now before we move on to the next. That's my point.
Thank you. All right. I think that's it. Okay. We'll go to board comments on this, sort of close the conversation a little. I'll go first. And for the purposes of this one, we'll go with Board Member Barton-Hagan as the voting, but obviously we'll allow everyone to have a say. So my thoughts on this are that actually there's enough lot area for all of them except for 200 square feet on lot 2. So it's not true to say that it needs actual variances for setbacks for any of them. None of them require setbacks changes or anything else for it. So it's just for the actual structure itself that needs the special permit. Only lot 2, again, for 200 square feet needs a variance. So it fits in there. There's enough space there. I have been out there. I also have questions about La Chapelle, which is a disaster street. But that is mainly for site plan review. So I think just thinking about that for the city's perspective about how this gets built on there. But other than that, I think this makes sense to me. It's not asking for variances on lot 1 or lot 3. Lot 2 is just for square feet. It's not for any setbacks or anything else. So there's space there. And yes, I have been around the neighborhood now a few times before these. So I'm a yes on this. I don't have any other thoughts on it. Board Member Abramoff.
Oh, thank you. Through the chair. First, I appreciate that at the last meeting, the developer actually listened to the neighborhood and reduced this from 4 units to 3. And I also understand that they could go down a couple of different paths and have even more density on this by right. So what we have is a situation in which we can turn this down and they can just go ahead and do quite a bit more, 4 units with ADUs and et cetera, without any conditions. Alternatively, what they've done is reduced it to 3 units and met a lot of the design and landscape requirements that the city has added. So, I really do appreciate that, and think there was some recognition of how it fits into the neighborhood in there. One thing I'd like to see, though, I don't see any fencing. Maybe the plan I have is too small, or any barriers between the properties. Is it possible that on the, 2 sides face La Chapelle Street and Emery Street, so I'm not talking about those 2 sides, but on the other 2 sides, could they plant, instead of a fence, a row of arborvitae, fairly densely planted? They grow very fast. They would create a barrier, a sense of privacy, help out the neighbors absorb this. I don't know if that's something that's possible, but that would make it, I'm in favor of this, but that would make it a little bit more amenable to me, and I think to the neighbors.
We wouldn't be opposed to that. It probably could possibly come up with the planning board in terms of their site plan review as well.
Excuse me?
I think are we showing?
On that plan.
I think they're showing.
It's so small, I can barely see it.
That shows arborvitae's on one side, right?
Yeah, that's the side we're talking about, right?
I think in topography, La Chapelle goes up. So behind, I think on the rear property line, it's probably set down.
Set down.
And so I'm not sure that would
So
be
it looks-
beneficial, but certainly on the as shown on that location, that it's shown on the plan, and we'd be happy to have that as a condition of approval.
Okay, so actually, what's on the plan, if that's arborvitae, then we don't have to condition it, except that it's conditioned on the plan.
Right. And that was something which the engineer had added, I think, on his own initiative
It's a good engineer.
to the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Campanello?
Through the chair. I'm in agreement with Board Member Abramoff about the plantings. My question is for, you said you had an issue with recommendation 1E to update the rendering. Does that mean you'd like to strike that recommendation and not provide that updated?
Condition E, what I'd like to take out is the reference to dormers, because there are windows that are shown on the back, but the front of the house has these dog house dormers, and in the back, the mansard roof will continue. It's just not shown on this, but the windows would be recessed into the mansard of roofing. They just won't be. There's not going to be the architectural detail that we have on the front, but it would be, it's built into the roof line. And so that would be the only thing that I would look to take out as a reference to the dormers.
Okay. And then my question for staff is, previously, I believe quite recently, there was almost a similar situation where there was the alternative that they could have more units through ADUs. And I believe we wrote something into the recommendations that prohibited that. So if we are allowing three units on this lot, that would be the limit. Is that something that we could do here? Would that come naturally through this?
So I believe that we reached out to law for a recommendation, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Victor, but I believe that law said that we could not condition that anything to do with the ADUs.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be, I do remember that. Basically, the determination was that it would be bound by whatever regulations there are for it, which in this case would be space and some other things. So that probably limits it, but we can't say it.
Okay.
We can limit them to essentially not allowing them to add additional impervious area on the site, which would preclude a detached ADU or an expansion of the building to add an ADU, but they could still do an interior ADU.
Right.
Okay. And additionally, I know that board comment typically, we make statements on how we're feeling about the project and where our vote is right now. I'm still undecided, still waiting for the rest of the board to speak, so I can't really give you any inclination at this time.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I made it clear, but I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Yep. Board Member Bart Hagan.
Through the chair. I guess I'll preface this by saying it is a close call, but I think I'm leaning in favor of this just because this is never a decision that we can make in a vacuum. It's always in comparison to what could be done by right. And as mentioned by Board Member Abramoff, a lot here can be done by right. In fact, I think it was at least 4 up to 5 units could be built without the need for this board to review this project. And so I always, keep that in mind when I'm thinking about, okay, well, is this something that we should be approving or not? And I think I am appreciative. I thought 4 was too much last time. And I think everyone said 3 might be the magic number. It is a relatively large lot size. There's only 200 feet variance requested, which is relatively small. That just goes to show that this lot size could support something along these lines. I hear the neighbors' concerns about safety, having to do with the children in the neighborhood and La Chapelle Street, but I think that's a little beyond this board's particular purview. I'm not sure those are necessarily reasons for us to limit what otherwise would be a decent, proposal here, given the lot size, given the limited number of variances requested. So I think, all that being said, I think I'm generally in favor of it.
Board Member Sacco. No, but you
I
can.
have no vote, so I would go no comment. Pass to Tokonov.
Okay. Board Member Turcono.
I'm concerned a little bit about the neighbors' concern, the 3 units, and I don't know if the applicant can do anything, and that's my only issue.
Okay. So thinking about some additional thoughts based on the conversation, we could put into a perpetual something around not adding any more impervious to the site, which is already a pretty tight site. Do we have some language? Yes, you have something.
I have some proposed language for you if you'd like to entertain.
Yes, please.
There shall be no further conversion of pervious surfaces to impervious surfaces, no other expansion, extension of the structure, deck, patio, and/or driveway, etc., beyond what is depicted on the final revised plans in order to minimize runoff generated from the site.
Is that amenable?
Additionally, can I add one thing that I did not mention in my comments for the board? That this property and this neighborhood is in the managed growth area in the Now Next citywide plan, which allows moderate increases in housing density within a quarter-mile walk of existing and potential future transit corridors. Just for a kind of a touch point for where this lives within the city.
Is the applicant amenable to?
Yes.
Okay, we are at the place where people need to figure out we're there. So I guess I'll ask again, Board Member Abramoff, your thoughts is still the same?
My thoughts are still the same.
Board Member Campanello.
Through the chair, with the additional language of impervious surface limitations, as well as, to me, it is very important that the arborvitae as shown on the plan get planted, then I would be in favor of moving this forward, seeing that it's 200 feet of space variance required or special permit required for Lot 2.
Board Member Bart Hagan.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the new condition, and I also want to echo that for the privacy's sake, that having those arborvitae there is really important, and I'm glad that's something that's already in the plans. With that being said, I'm still in favor.
Board Member Turcono.
No comment.
Okay. Do you have a sense, we're going to go to a vote. Do you have a sense of where you're at so we can let the applicant know?
I guess you know where I stand, so.
Okay. Member Sacco, nothing else still?
Yeah, I'm not voting this one, so
Okay, that's fine. You're not required to say anything. All right, well, I will then entertain a motion to close.
Through the chair, would alternate member Barton Hagan care to make a motion?
Motion to close. You got to make a motion to close first.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to close the hearing.
Is there a second?
Second,
On the motion to close, Board Member Abramoff?
yes.
Board Member Campanello?
Yes.
Board Member Bart Hagan?
Yes.
Board Member Turcono?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Is there a motion on 14 Emery Street?
I'd like to make a motion on 14 Emery Street for a special permit on Lot 1 to allow a single-family attached dwelling use in an RL7 zone, a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces. For Lot 2, a variance for relief of 200 square feet from the 3,000 square foot minimum lot area requirement for a single-family attached dwelling in an RL7 zoning district. a special permit to allow a single-family attached dwelling use in an RL7 zone, and a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces. And for Lot 3, a special permit to allow a single-family attached dwelling in an RL7 zone. With the staff recommendations on pages 5 and 6 of the staff memo, with the updates to recommendation 1E and the new recommendation as set forth by Ms. Amy Beth Lath, and the waivers as requested by the applicant.
All right. On the motion, Board Member Abramoff?
Well, I second that.
Oh, second, sorry.
Second.
I apologize. Thank you for reminding me.
On the motion.
Board Member Abramoff on the motion?
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello?
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono? Yes. My vote's yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is number, no, we're not doing, right. What are we? Number 3, 32 Canterbury Street. Oh, you're leaving for that one. I would have made you do the other one.
He has to,
Yeah, recuse. Yeah. I would have made him stay for the last one. All right. Go ahead.
Great. Through the chair, excuse me. My name is Clay Williams on behalf of the applicant Joseph Haddad for our continued public hearing for the parcel of land known as 32 Canterbury Street. Before we get started too deep, if I may ask a question to Victor. So since we have the alternate member on Zoom now, does that change what we talked about originally? Okay, gotcha. Great, thank you. Perfect. So since our last meeting, we've had the chance to refine some of our information, further some of our design plans. We had some renderings put together that give kind of a great vision of the site in relation to its neighbors. I also went and walked up and down Canterbury Street, took some pictures of existing interactions between commercial and residential property. We had some soil testing done. We added a interior employee parking space, and we added some color to our site plan that's now up on the screen. If you'd like, I can go through the slideshow slide by slide and kind of just say where we're at. So I think most of what I've already said is kind of encapsulated here. If you just go to the next slide, it zooms in a little bit easier to see. Oop, there you go. So as discussed, we have a 10-foot tall privacy fence along the left-hand property line on the west, 6 feet in the front, right behind the edge of the sidewalk. We have included some landscaped areas, a couple of arborvitaes with mulch beds on the 2 front corners along the street. We also have a 3-foot by 6-foot planting bed in the front of the building between the man door entrance and the first garage door. We are proposing a mesh privacy screen, both for visual impacts and also for dust control. I think that sort of method is a lot better at containing the site. And if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see a visualization. So here is our site with the building in relation to the parking area for the Cogswell Sprinkler Building on the right and the existing residence at 34 Canterbury Street. So you can see our mulch beds in the back, a little bit of the existing vegetation on top of that 20-ish foot tall concrete wall, and then the remainder of the site would be paved. If you flick to the next slide. So here is the front elevation of the building. As we discussed with Victor earlier today before the hearing, we are going to add some windows and a man door along that entrance, just for light purposes and also for aesthetics. I think it's important to note that we are shorter than the house next to us. This is kind of the traditional 2.5-story multifamily that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 feet tall. Our building is a maximum of 30 feet, sloping down to 28 inside of the project site for stormwater purposes. And you can see the existing light pole in the front, the drainage catch basin in the road, and then a visual of some of our plantings along the street. If you go to the next slide. So here is kind of some of the details that I've discussed already. We also are committed to providing dark sky compliant lighting. This limits any spillover onto adjacent properties. I think it's a great benefit for both the site for safety and maneuverability and, limiting the impact on some of our neighbors. The material storage bay, we've clarified the detail there. It'll be constructed with V blocks. It's a pretty similar construction method to other places on Canterbury Street today. So here is the fence we are using. I think since the last hearing, we've clarified using one of these black chain link fences. It's much more residential, gives a much more high-end feel than some of the pre-existing kind of galvanized stainless steel fence. And if you flick to the next slide, you can see what it looks like with that privacy screening on it. So it's great at keeping light and materials inside of the site away from the public eye. And then here is just kind of a generic schematic detail of what that block wall will look like. There'll be no higher than 6 feet tall along that back property line. It'll kind of connect with the existing 4-foot wall behind the Cogswell sprinkler parking lot. Keep stuff as far away from possible as abutting residential properties. It's a really kind of a standard method of construction for these sorts of things. If you go next. So here's just kind of an example of what dark sky compliant lighting looks like. Even though you have that, say, 20-foot tall light pole, it really limits the spread. That way it'll keep all the light inside the parcel. It won't be shining into the windows of our neighbors. You can go ahead to the next slide. So now we're going to get into some of the streetscape pictures. Last week I went and walked up and down Canterbury Street, tried to get an example of what existing residential and commercial properties, how they interact with each other. I think much like ours, basically all of them abut a residential property on at least one property line. This building, the plumbing and heating company, a couple of houses down, they're surrounded. We feel we're providing a much better offset than this. I think we've got screening, we've got a higher fence, and it just allows for much more maneuverability. Go to the next slide. And then here is standing at the edge of the gate, looking down the street towards the project site. I took this picture kind of just to show that most everything is kind of right backed up against the curb line, whether it be the actual garage building or a fence or some of the stoops off the residential houses. So you can keep going to the next slide. And so here is the Jam Corporation at the other end of Canterbury Street. So their site is surrounded by a fence with barbed wire and this, short, probably about 3-foot landscaped area. It's pretty overgrown with invasive species. There's trash that's blowing into there. I think the intent of a landscape buffer over here, whether the plantings have died or whatever happened, it's just not being captured very well. So you can go to the next slide. And then here's just a broader view of what their facility looks like. I think in an ideal world, Joe would have a similar scale of a facility as this. I think that'd be awesome. We'd be doing cartwheels. But, we're looking for a smaller sort of version of what's existing here. It's all the similar sorts of things. Outdoor storage of trucks. They've got some materials. It's something that pre-exists up along Canterbury Street. Go ahead to the next slide. And then so this is the building right across the street from us. Again, similarly to, as I said, the built environment is right up to the back of that curb line. We feel having a fence along the curb as opposed to setback into the site is consistent with the existing neighborhood. I think it helps improve the safety and access for Joe and his building. And I think it would be a benefit to the neighborhood. The location of this site when you're turning in off of Cambridge Street, this building will kind of act as a gateway. When you make that turn, it's one of the first things that you see. And we feel that activating this underutilized lot, I think when Joe was talking to the property owners, that's the wasteland lot, they call it, for all the extra storage and things like that, will be a huge benefit to the neighborhood. I think more activity and lighting and people will be a huge benefit. When I walked up and down this day, there were a couple of people out either working on cars. I kind of gave a little nod and a wave and nobody really acknowledged me. we feel that our addition is going to be a benefit to the neighborhood. We tried to reach out to some of our neighbors, send a bunch of different phone calls and emails, and unfortunately didn't hear back. I think that's, do I have one more slide after this, or is it at the end? Yeah, and then this is just kind of a different view of the same sort of thing. So you can see we have two 14 by 14 commercial garage doors, a man door on the corner, some of the other features we've talked about. And then if you go next, you can see the back of the building. And then here are those material storage bays with a third large garage door. Employee parking is envisioned to come in and park in that space inside of that door, with the front two more reserved for, like, vehicle storage. And yeah, just again, another view, you can see the fence on the left. So it's been strategically located to limit any impacts to that first set of windows that's currently behind that. The second floor windows, I think any headlight spread or whatever would get caught by that oversized fence. So it really does good at keeping the site in and, keeping our neighbors out. And then here again, it's just a view kind of showing how the building looks in relation to the existing streetscape with the building across the street and some of the parking area for Cogswell Sprinkler. One thing I do want to note, when I did my site visit that day, when you pull out of their parking lot, those trees are kind of like right in your, view lane. And I did notice that I was, leaning over trying to get a clear view. So, there's a potential that street trees might even be, an impediment to the site access. And then again, just another view looking at the same sort of thing. And I believe that is the end of our presentation. I think a couple of other things that have happened behind the scenes on Tuesday of last week, Joe and McCarty Engineering visited the site to do soil testing for a on-site stormwater management system. Great results. We have sand and gravel soils, which are classified as A. They have some of the highest rates of recharge. They also noted that they are above the 82-inch offset to groundwater. And this was after the major rainstorm we had on that Monday, so that is a great indicator of the site being acceptable for an underground stormwater management system. We have a signed certification from the engineer that did the testing. And let's see what else. And yeah, I think that kind of represents most of the changes to our hearing here. Anything you want to add, Joe? Okay, yeah.
City staff.
Through the chair, my name is Victor Panak. I'm a planner with the Division of Planning and Regulatory Services. So this is a request for zoning relief to establish a landscaping business at this location. The board originally opened the hearing on this application at the board's October 6th meeting. The board continued the hearing to give the applicant more time to provide detailed plans and provide additional supporting documentation. Before continuance, board members expressed concerns with the tight layout of the site and resulting circulation challenges, concerns with how storage of materials on the site would be handled, and requested more details on fencing and other site features. Staff also requested the applicant provide a proposal for stormwater management on the site. The applicant has since provided an updated site plan and provided more details on the location and style of fencing, location of staging, location of material storage, and location of the proposed garage building. The applicant has also submitted responses to staff requests that provide more detail on the specifics of the applicant's operations. The subject site is located in a manufacturing zoning district, the MG2. The applicant is seeking relief for the use. Open lot storage is only permitted in the MG2 by special permit. The applicant is also seeking relief to allow a 10-foot fence within 5 feet of a property line and to get relief from certain parking dimensional requirements. At this time, staff's concerns relate primarily to the style and location of fencing and the location of landscape buffer areas. In general, the ordinance discourages chain link fencing. In this particular case, staff also recommends against chain link fencing along the western property line because solid style fencing will be more effective at screening the site's activities from the abutting residential property. Screening activities from the residential butter is a very important objective in staff's opinion. We therefore recommend a condition requiring that the fencing along the western property line be solid style. As for fencing and landscaping along the front property line, staff would like to see a landscape buffer area provided along the frontage of the property with fencing behind the landscaping. Conditions are therefore recommended requiring that the fence along the front be pulled back to be in line with the front of the building, and that landscaping with shade trees be provided between the fence and the front lot line. The fencing style along the front should also be solid style that provides some level of screening for the site's activities. In addition to landscaping and fencing conditions, staff recommends several conditions to limit the scope of activities on the site and ensure activities remain compliant with the ordinance requirements. Staff also recommends a condition requiring that the applicant submit plans and documents demonstrating that all standards of the Massachusetts Stormwater Checklist be complied with based on the project characterization as new development. I want to note that condition 1F limits the height of the storage bays to 6 feet. That's an error that was carried over from an earlier version of the memo, and the board should feel free to strike that unless board members do feel that the bay should be limited to 6 feet, but otherwise staff has no concerns with taller bays. The applicant has indicated that the storage bays would be between 6 and 8 feet tall. So that's been added as an item that needs relief under the same variance for accessory structures within a 5-foot setback. There are a number of other conditions, recommended conditions, that I'd be happy to discuss as necessary, but I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, is anybody here for 32 Canterbury Street in person? All right, please come forward to state your name and city of residence for the record.
Yes, my name is Melvin, last name Collins. My wife and I own a property at 33 Canterbury Street. Okay, zoning requirements, zoning regulations exist to enhance the integrity and the look of property in the neighborhood. In the recent past, whenever these variances have come up, I can recall no instance where these variances were granted. People were strictly held to the zoning requirements that were there and also the landscaping requirements. Okay, my concerns are multiple. There are multiple variants and permits. The minimum setback requirement for parking within 5 feet of the abutting property line. Okay. If you allow this, what you're doing is you're creating a congested area. The neighborhood is going to begin to look congested. That 10-foot fence, and you walled it in, looks almost like a wall. Okay, you have the minimum setback requirements for accessory structure, 10 feet fence. Landscaping requirements. Relief from applicants state that due to the small nature of the parcel, parking setbacks and landscaping requirements are not feasible. Let's just throw beautification of the neighborhood out of the window. In a similar fashion, if someone seeks to build a house or a building on non-conforming land, do we grant it just because he, she, or they say it's not feasible? Just maybe the solution is to conform to the regulations. Open storage to be used for open lot storage and sale of landscape products and materials such as sand, mulch, and other non-specified project-specific materials. And as the applicant states, for intended use of revolving open lot storage, okay, where does it end? It's an open end. What can be stored there? He's telling you right there, that in addition to sand and gravel, somewhere in the future, it might be multiple other type of stuff. What? The other thing too, open dumpsters and open storage, when you put this material in the neighborhood, I can tell you this, if you want to find rats and mouse, just take some leaves and pile them up, or any type of mulch. The rats and mice will find them in the wintertime. Okay, you're inviting these type of rodents into the neighborhood. In the applicant variance and special permit application, under special permit findings and facts, item 6, applicant states, and this in itself is telling. The applicant is currently being removed from the existing business location, from its existing business location due to zoning-related issues based on open lot storage. It took the applicant significant time and effort to find a parcel that is economically feasible to develop for its intended use. This special permit will lead to the retention of up to 10 jobs in the existing Worcester small business. Because it took the applicant significant time and effort to find a parcel that's economically feasible to develop for his intended use, is no reason to grant variances. If that becomes the standard of review, all neighborhoods in time will deteriorate. In the same fashion, the city of Worcester removed its neighborhood composting and sand site from Green Hill Park to Route 146. I caution, when they talk about economic impact, it just might have the adverse effect of reducing a reduction in the valuation of the property values in general. He walked the neighborhood, they took pictures. Unless I'm mistaken, I can see a picture here that looked like it was of a building that was there somewhere between 5 and 8 years ago that was originally attached to my building. So it couldn't have been taken recently. Okay, it's an old picture that was handed down somewhere. I don't know where it came from. In closing, I went through the entire application, and we had trouble trying to find out. Well, we had trouble trying to visualize the positive impact of this type of business in that neighborhood. You got residential buildings there. You have other businesses there. To put a landscaping and sand gravel place and mulch business right up in the neighborhood doesn't make any sense. And I suspect that's one of the reasons why they had to remove it from Franklin Street. In closing, it is our hope that that this project be denied and they build a building according to whatever they're going to put there. They put it according to the variances and the regulations that exist, and conform to the landscaping requirements like every other business in that area have had to adhere to. I can tell you from Southbridge Street to Canterbury Street, there have been a number of businesses, I'm familiar with them, who have requested relief from those variances and were denied. That's it in closing.
Is anybody else here for 32 Canterbury Street? Is anybody online? Okay. If I understand correctly, the fence is not the thing that triggers the 5-foot setback. It's the building itself next to the parking lot line. Is that correct or no?
No, so anything over 6 feet in the
Oh, because
ordinance.
it's 10 feet tall. That's right.
Yeah, anything over 6 feet in the ordinance is deemed is a structure. And since a fence is accessory, it's an accessory structure, and accessory structures have to be set back 5 feet from our property lines. So
Yeah.
the 10-foot fence along the left property line is deemed a structure and therefore should have a 5-foot setback. That's what the variance they're asking for. And then if the applicant may need to weigh in on this, but the storage bays, currently in the memo, the storage bays are cited as being 6 to 8 feet tall, which is what the applicant had told us. Those would be an accessory structure also, and they don't have the requisite 5-foot setback from
Right, because they're
the
against
right
the
side
parking
property
lot
line.
area.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Yes, go ahead.
Through the chair, if I may add, in relation to the front setback, we're not requesting a variance for that. The provision that allows the existing setback of other house or other buildings on the same street to reduce from the 15-foot requirement is what we've proposed. So there's no variance for the front setback. That's a note in the use table.
Yeah, that's helpful. So just for clarity, because so if that's helpful for folks who so the none of the buildings on the street, I should say none. A lot of the buildings on the street would also currently not meet the zoning requirements. So a lot of our zoning requirements happened after a lot of the things happened in the city. One of my favorite examples generally is that you couldn't build a 3-decker in Worcester. And so you can, it's complicated, but basically a lot of places. So certainly where I live, my 3-decker does not fit the requirements. And so there's so I don't exactly know. I have yet to see, I've been on this board for some time, somebody come before us and ask for a zoning variance for 32. There are other businesses like this on 32 Canterbury, like literally the exact same business. And as I stated the last time, like there was, right around the corner was a farm share where we had literal people were put up all sorts of things. So I don't think it's out of step. The way that you would make the 5 feet partially, right, would be to reduce the size of the fencing, which would of course limit then the ability of it to block out sort of what it's trying to do, which is protect the neighbors. So that also doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I actually do appreciate that, like, you were renting and had a business and were asked to move because of the things. That does weigh on me, I will say. And if anybody else was to come forward for that reason, that would also weigh on me. I actually do take that very seriously, that somebody's trying to do the right thing. And so in a positive way, that we want to try and work with people in the city to allow them to do the things, to grow, to have business and so forth. So all that being said, I'm generally for this project. I think it's in the right location. There is businesses literally that do the same thing on the street. And it's trying to do so in a way that's less impactful than currently there. I did also drive by this street, and I guess all the pictures looked like when I drove it, so I don't exactly understand, but that's what it looked like to me, having been there on Sunday. So this is, for me, this is a good location. There's already businesses like it. It's a good project. Currently there is just trash and like an unused like a dilapidated parking lot. So it certainly would be an improvement, because currently there is like nothing. It's just trash. So I think this would be an improvement from that. There's sort of fencing that's pretty ugly. This would improve that. So I think all in all, this would be a lot better. I have also now, when we spoke, I hadn't been out there, but I have been out there since then. And I'm not moved to feel like there needs to be a move there, that it needs to be set back, that the fencing needs to be set back 6.6 feet. So I'm actually interested what the board's thoughts on this are, but I think the fencing that the applicant is proposing absolutely works for me. I would be fine striking 1B, 1A, 1B, and 1C, as they don't reflect what I think is out there currently, and also I don't think we're getting a lot for it. We're asking a lot and not getting a lot, so I would be comfortable striking it, having now been out there. I think it's less safe to have a fence next to a building. You actually want to have some space in between to allow lighting, something to visualize it. And I'm not compelled that there's, most of the other businesses have fences right up against it. And I drove by fine. I don't know, there's not I mean, lots of people are driving by, but having to pull over for a second and wait wasn't terribly, it just wasn't a lot for me. So for those reasons, I think 1D, I could be interested in changing as well to reflect that. So, and then obviously we talked about 1F. So that's my thoughts on this. I'm a yes, and I'm open to amending 1A, 1B, and 1C to reflect what got proposed here tonight. Board Member Bromoff.
Through the chair, if I can just jump in very, very briefly.
Yeah.
Based on your comments, I would think you'd want to strike 1D as well. I think staff is recommending that landscape buffer only if they do pull the fence back to line up with the building. Otherwise, they'd be putting landscape buffer behind the fence.
behind the
Yeah,
fence,
it's not, that's not productive. And then I think 1E, based on what you're saying, if you're comfortable with the chain link fencing they proposed,
Oh, yeah.
you'd probably want to strike that one too. So A through E essentially has to do with the fencing,
Right.
style, location, and landscaping that staff is looking to have changed on the plans.
And I would like everyone's comments on that, if you wouldn't mind. Board Member Brennan.
Thank you. Through the chair, it's clearly a mixed-use neighborhood. You know, there's lots of industrial, commercial, and residential. And that's just how the way the city has grown, and it's, I think, important, particularly as we found on Franklin Street, to be considerate of where you are. So I have some concern here. Primarily, you know, we've seen Franklin Street. There's a lot of equipment and stuff there. Does the applicant intend to have a big yard sale, or is this going to become another Franklin Street? Which, you know, the track record is not exactly making me feel comfortable. Let me just tell you that. And so I'm worried about the intensity of the use going in here. Not that a commercial use, I'm against it. I'm not against the commercial use here. I'm against the intensity of the commercial use. There's too much there. Part of the documentation that the applicant provided was 10 jobs. Well, there's one parking space for employees. Where are they going to park? And I noticed on the street, it's no parking zone on that side of the street for a great length of it. You know, I'm really torn about this. It feels like we're trying to quote an earlier person talking here. You're trying to take 10 pounds of potatoes and put them in a 5-pound bag, and that really worries me. Your operating hours aren't discussed here. You know, you're talking about feet from somebody's bedroom window, feet, not miles, not, you know, yards and yards and yards, a few feet with a little chain link fence in between, and those trucks all have their backup beepers. You know, at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, at 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock at night. You know, those are intrusions on, you know, the ability of someone to enjoy the quiet of the premises, so to speak. I'm not talking about during the day. I'm talking about extended hours, which inevitably happen. You try to get out and get a job going early, you show up at 6 a.m. or get back at, you know, something doesn't go right and you get back at 9 or 10 p.m. So I have a real concern when I look at what took place and how we're trying to fit so much into this. Before we get into fencing, fencing is trying to reduce the impact on the area, both visually and in other ways. So I just have to say that right now I'm a little bit, I have quite a bit of concern about this, so.
If I could, through the chair, first thing is, we have rented an additional yard space out of town. It's going to be in Sutton at an already existing larger waste management company. We're going to store a lot of our dumpsters there. We're going to store a lot of our heavy equipment in the off-season, which I do agree. If we were to just move what we had, we either are facing a yard sale or a 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag, which is, again, why we rented this other space. The other thing is employees, we implemented one. We're going to have a second one who have take-home vehicles. So they bring their crew in the morning, they hook up to their trailer, and they leave. They're not bringing, the vehicle they're driving to work that day isn't staying there. It goes out to work that day, too. I just wanted to address those two items. Hopefully that puts you at ease on some of this. It is a smaller lot.
About the other property.
Yeah, the property. Well, this, I guess, to staff, can we, I don't think we can, but I got to ask, can we condition this on having another, no, huh?
No, we can't. I'm not sure I suspect it's not legal, but even if it were legal, enforcing that would be,
Can't do it.
I mean, impossible.
Just had to say it out loud. Okay, thank you. What about operating hours?
We intend to operate through the chair primarily 7 a.m. to about, I think the last crew rolled in about 4 p.m. today. Shy of a major emergency, there's no reason in which we're going to ever be working till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and we don't start before 7.
Through the staff, is there a way to condition this on operating hours?
We can condition operating hours, certainly. I want to ask the applicant a question, though. I believe they do snow plowing work in the winter.
Yep.
Would you do that overnight?
So again, that's a similar situation where these guys come in well before the snowstorm, they grab their trucks, they go home, and then they go right into work. They don't come into the garage. It's merely a matter of logistics and timing. At 3 a.m., you might not have the extra hour it takes to do that, so we...
A question is, how many trucks do you envision being on site at the most at any one time?
Between stored inside and outside, probably 5.
Through the chair, if I may, the building itself, when you take the average size of a parking space, you could fit, with maneuverability, at least 6 or 7 in there. Just packing them all in like sardines, I think there's enough space for 12 parking spots in there.
In the building?
Right.
And if I can add through the chair, me and Victor discussed this earlier. In terms of the outdoor storage right now, the facility we're at has about 9-foot ceiling height, and it doesn't have big doors. What that limits us to is we can't bring a lot of our stuff inside the garage. Not only tripling our floor area ratio at this, we'll also have about twice the height, which will allow us to, store snowplows off-season inside on racks, store lawnmowers off-season inside on racks. So it'll really minimize the impact of what's in the actual yard.
Okay. Well, I'm still, that helps somewhat, but I'm still concerned about how we're going to, protect the neighbors and make it look nice. Is the building on the lot line? On the back, the right-hand side of the building is?
So it's set back 6 inches to account
6
for a
inches?
gutter. But in this zone, you have a 0 side setback. So you can build all the way up to the property line. So there's no relief for the side
Then,
setback.
Through staff, why are we looking for a variance for the fence?
There's no setback requirement for the building. There is a setback, ironically, for an accessory
Accessory.
structure.
Thank
which
you.
is the fence. Yep.
Because it's over 6 feet, it's like counts.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that it's going to 10 feet to help screen it from the neighbor, but I still have concern.
I know you don't want to talk about fencing, but I guess I'll still ask it anyway. Do you have thoughts about if, I know you have other concerns. On top of those concerns, do you have thoughts about like where the fence should be? Should it be on the front line? Would you like it set back? Like, would you like it to be wood? Sort of, do you have some other thoughts about that as well?
I wonder if, through the chair, I wonder if the neighbor has considered, I mean, he's the person who's most affected by this.
Across the street, right?
Right.
No,
Yeah, he's a commercial building across the street, not the residential house you see
Not the
up on
residential
screen.
house.
Right.
It looks like a garage of some
Yeah, it's Calabash Restaurant, I think is what the sign says.
Okay, yeah.
Through the chair and to the board as well, we, on about a dozen attempts, reached out to this neighbor via cell phone calls, text messages, as far as emails. The district counselor for District 4 had reached out as well to him. Everyone was unsuccessful in setting up a meeting. I would have loved to meet him on site. I would have loved to have gone over any of his concerns. If he said I had appreciated this fence versus that fence, I would have loved to take it into consideration. He quite frankly refused to talk to us. We did everything we could. We reached out to planning. We got other numbers for him. I think the city councilor even reached out to planning for his number as well, to no luck. It seems as though there's a personal relationship between the seller of the property and us, and the abutter. It seems as though we're in the middle of it. But again, things like front setbacks, if you can see his building is set back 0 feet off of the road. We're open to hearing all of his concerns, but if shy of him not answering us, it's tough to do so.
Yeah,
Can we-
go ahead. Please come forward. Just state your name again for the record on the microphone.
Melvin Collins, again, 33 Canterbury Street. Okay, to sit here and listen to what I just heard is disturbing to me. We set up a meeting to meet with them and the city councilor, Luis Alvaredo, I think it was, on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. I showed up, paid my parking, sat here for an hour and a half. No one showed up. Prior to the city council meeting, the councilman walked out. I assume it might be him. And I walked over and I asked him, "Are you a city councilor? What's your name?" I said, "My name is Melvin Collins. I've been sitting here waiting for you all for over an hour." So to say you reached out to me and I didn't respond is terribly wrong. When I did set up that meeting, they told me it would be best to wait for the meeting and discuss everything with everyone present instead of calling everybody back individually. So to sit here and hear this, when you didn't show up,
No. Please, please speak to me directly. Thank you.
okay, to sit here and listen to this and say they reach out and I didn't respond when they didn't show up, and I took my time to drive over here, spend my time sitting out there in that hallway for almost an hour and a half, and they didn't show.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I have to ask a question. I'm a little bit confused, so bear with me. Sometimes I am confused, as my wife often points out. Sir, this is not your house, the white one to the right. Is that correct? That house showing on this picture, is that not your house?
No, that's not
You're
mine.
across the street.
That's not mine. I live across,
So-
we have the building across the street, commercial building.
Understood. And so you were referring to reaching out to the person in that White House?
No, through the chair, I have the corresponding text messages with the city councilor, repeatedly asking him time and time again if we had a time for Mr. Collins, if we had a time for Mr. Collins. We never had a set time. Again, could that have been a lack of communication outside of me? Sure, I have the corresponding text trying. I have the
Okay.
paragraph text to the gentleman here tonight, urging him that I'd love to meet with him and talk over the issues.
Well, again, if you talk with the
Okay.
city councilor, I got a call from the city council's office. If you talk with him, you will find that we had set a meeting for 4 o'clock PM.
Who's the city councilor?
It's Councilor Ojeda, and again, I'm happy to submit the corresponding text messages of us trying to make that meeting available.
Okay.
If you contact him, you will find that the meeting was set.
Let me just ask another question, sir. If we approve this, we can approve it with conditions. Is there any comment you have on what he's proposing and making it more amenable to you, or are you just against it outright?
Well, I'm not against it. What I'm saying is this: whatever structure that should be built according to the zoning law, setback requirements and all. Okay. If I find a piece of land, if I got a building I want to put down on a piece of non-conforming land, it has happened in Worcester in the past. I can tell you on Vernon Street at one time, someone built a building, went ahead and built the building, not conforming to the land requirement. They made them tear the whole building down after it was built.
Understood, and that's why we have a process through this board to allow for variations in what people build, because the law doesn't always have the flexibility to cover what's there. So,
All I'm asking is this: landscape requirement, that example. I'm hopeful that someone can show me one instance over the last 7 years where they allowed those landscaping variations. I know, I'm familiar with a lot of the business that built these, that constructed business in these areas. They were not allowed to deviate from those requirements. Okay? So where does it end at and where does it stop it? If you grant this, and I come up 3 years later, I got a building I want to put down, and I'm saying, okay, the land doesn't conform to the size of the building. What are you going to tell me? Just plop it down there. When you start plopping all these things down.
We
here,
can't speculate on any other future considerations, only what's in front of us, and to say that's our job, is to look at what the city has written in black and white in a regulation, and whether it's appropriate or not for us to allow a variance to that. And I don't mean necessarily
My
a
feeling-
variance in a legal term, just something different than what's exactly allowed.
I have seen neighborhoods where they start doing these things. When you start compacting all these buildings that close to each other, it looks unsightly. It drives down prices.
So you would most be in favor, if I can understand that, of if they pulled the front fence on Canterbury, if they pulled that back 5 feet and made plantings along the street side instead of behind the fence. That seems like that makes it more amenable.
It makes
to
it
you.
more period, if they build a building or cause according to the
Well,
zoning.
the building is being built according to the zoning. We're really talking about the fencing and the use. So on the other property line, where, Victor, if you can help me with this, make sure I'm addressing this correctly. We're only considering that fence because it's 10 feet. He could put 6 feet there with no requirement. Is that correct? With no
That's
limit.
correct.
So what I see is that to protect the neighbor to the other side, they're willing to put up a 10-foot fence. And we have to give him a variance of 5 feet to do that. He could go to a 6-foot fence, and we don't have a say in it. We don't get an option to say that's okay or not okay. He can just do that. So he's trying to protect that neighbor on that side by making a higher fence. And the city is requesting that that fence be of a nicer material than the chain link. I'm not sure that's necessary or not. But, I say thank you for coming here and letting us know what your concerns are, and I'm still thinking about this. Is that?
Thank you very much.
Through the chair as well, I do want to know, we would be agreeable to a 6-foot fence. We just don't feel it offers enough protection. That's why we're seeking the variance. We don't want to have headlights in these neighbors' windows. We don't want to have whatever it may be.
Understood. Yep.
The other option is that it's a 10-foot fence, but it's set back 5 feet from the
Right.
property line
Pulled in
with landscaping on the other
Right.
side of the fence.
where there isn't any. Yep.
If I could as well, through the chair, we've talked about maneuverability on this site. We're afraid if we did some math on cutting in 5 feet on those two sides, we'd lose over 10% of gross area value to this site. You know, I think with the size of the parcel, it is, in terms of maneuverability, it is, pertinent that we have as much space as we can. And I think it's also in conforming to how a lot of the other places are built, just with some nicer style fencing.
It's a tough parcel. I would like to add to it employee parking on site, not on the street.
So there's no employee parking, there's no parking at all allowed in front of the building. It's a no parking zone due to a bus stop.
Right.
But all employee parking will be within the confines of the fence or the building.
Okay, and I'd like to see the front fence pulled back with the
You would like to see-
landscaping. Yeah, I think it makes it a little softer to the neighbors.
Appreciate that.
It's not the most landscaped street in the city, but we got to start somewhere. As I found out 50 years ago, when I planted some of the first trees in the street.
I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Thank you.
Through the chair, we did have some concerns with the landscaping in regards to the, say we were to plant some nice, beautiful trees, we only have so much control of where they grow. And the last thing I want them doing is growing into our abutter's house or, you know, what.
It would be in the front, not the side.
Okay. Same thing, I mean, even if, last thing we want is these trees growing over a sidewalk and, you know, it's, the trees as the city proposes with a 3-inch caliper is a pretty sizable tree meant to grow wide with a large canopy. Again, we had proposed some arborvitaes that we felt were, you know, softening up the neighborhood, but also going to stay within a normal size or controllable size.
Through the chair, I'd like to also add a condition on hours, operating hours. Now, obviously, some leeway for snow situations or something like that, but I don't know how to word that, but.
Right. Through the chair, I believe we said 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. was normal operating hours in our original application.
Okay.
I believe that was
6
written
days
in.
a week?
Typically, through the chair, we only work Monday through Friday unless there's a weather issue or something along those lines. Very sparingly do we work weekends.
Except on occasion. All right.
Yeah, great. That was fantastic. Board Member Campanella?
Through the chair, I'm in support of your application and of granting the relief requested. I agree with Board Member Abramoff. I'd like to see the front fence pushed back to allow for a landscape buffer. I'm really not, I have no opinion on this style or type of fence at this point. However, I think when discussing the landscape buffer and even the pictures of other landscape buffers being overgrown, I mean, who is the best person to beautify the street but a landscaping company? So here's your piece of land to, showcase your work. Whether or not that needs to be trees of 3-inch caliber, that might be maybe one thing we could remove from that. But I would like to see that fence moved back. But ultimately, I have no other real concerns. I am in agreement to condition operating hours to either 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. Maybe the language could be with the exception of snowstorms, if they, need to come and get salt or something. But I have no other comments beyond that.
Through the chair, I do have one question. If we were to be amendable to the entire front section of the building being landscaped, would you allow us to keep a portion of our fence at that front setback? Just so that, I hate to say it, the area in between the fence and the building to me is a bit of dead space. It's more than the 5 feet buffer. Would you be, I think it's closer to 6.5, 7. Would you be amendable to us using the entirety of that area as a landscaped area? I think it'll also allow us to plant some more sizable things. I mean, I think the 5-foot buffer is tough, especially with a fence behind it, asphalt in front of it. I don't want to see this stuff initially just die. We want to be able to have it maintain and flourish. I think that bigger area would allow us to keep our floor area ratio that we're looking for with the parking lot, just in terms of workability in the front, and then give us some landscape on the side.
So you're proposing that where the building starts, that becomes, that's sort of on the street,
Correct.
but where the building is, you would be amenable to pushing back whatever you have.
To the chair, yes, I think it'd be smart for us to do that as well. We would offer a bench to be put there. I don't know if we'd have to go through some type of easement process, but there is a bus stop there. I mean, if we had some shade trees and a bench, I think it could be, a nice asset to the neighborhood. I mean, I don't think there's a single bench on Canterbury Street in the sense of landscape, but also some usability. It's not that we're against the landscape buffer. I just hate to see it be dying off or useless. I think this use of the space in front of the building is much more practical for A, some garden beds, but B, also some neighbor use.
I'm in favor of that.
Me too.
Okay, yep. Anything else? Sorry. Board Member Bart Hagan?
Through the chair, have you, if that 10-foot fence were to be made out of a material other than chain link, have you looked into options yourself, or what have you been thinking about as far
Yeah,
as that?
through the chair to the board member, I guess our two main viable options would be vinyl as well as wood. So, I mean, if you look at a wood fence that's 20 years old, even the 6-foot ones start getting wobbly because they rot out, right? So I think our fear is a 10-foot fence is just so much more size and weight, and the last thing I want to see is this thing dilapidated in a decade or two. Towards vinyl fencing, once you get over 8 feet, they don't necessarily make it. It becomes prohibitively expensive, as well as, I think there's a lack of security to it in ways too. A vinyl fence is almost something you could kick through if you wanted to. from the end of security on for ourselves, but also the last thing I want is some neighborhood kids that kick through and now they have access to a Bobcat, free range.
Right, and I think the only reason we're talking about that fence is because you went through the trouble of making it be 10 feet. So I
Through the chair for the benefit of the neighbors.
Right,
I
right,
would take a 6, but I just don't feel as though it's going to provide them the adequate privacy that they rightfully deserve.
So I'm a little loath to impose that kind of condition on that fence in particular, because that's the fence that you're making bigger on purpose in consideration of the neighbor. And so what we've now seemingly agreed to is the fence will go right along the sidewalk area until it meets where the roof line, where the building starts, and then it would kind of cut north.
Through the chair, yeah. I believe we'd probably just do a 90-degree angle there. I'm not sure of exactly what we would design, but maybe even a man door entryway through as well. I think there's got to be, if we're going to plant a beautiful garden bed, we got to have access with water. So, I think that's one thought, that maybe that would be a gateway there for a human door.
Okay. There are a whole host of other conditions here about snow storage, the open bays in the back. If there's salt, it would need to be covered, and there's regulations that are required. I'm assuming you're okay with.
We're agreeable to it. I think the
Okay.
only one just give me a moment. I just want to ensure that, our aggregate piles and our mulch piles don't have to be covered, right? So what we would cover is the salt. It would have a tarp over it. What we're looking to avoid is kind of having to cover a mulch pile. I think if you were to go to any local nursery or any landscape center, you'd always see they have one covered bin for the salt, and then the mulch, which absorbs water, it's not super risky to run off, is always kind of an open pile. We'd be happy to do that. We just don't want to have to cover, like I said, the salt piles, by all means. We've also proposed adding a filter sock in front of these bays so that, obviously the employee would move it when they go to scoop a pile of mulch, and then when they're done, they put it back. God forbid we get a torrential rainpour, the small amount of runoff would be stopped by the filter sock.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not sure the conditions would require mulch to be covered. I know that they mentioned that if there were salt stored there, it would need to be covered, but.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Through the chair, it's not only a benefit for the runoff, but also once the salt gets wet, it becomes unusable to us.
Right. So it's a dollars and cents issue as well.
Everybody wins.
I'm also agreeable to the operating hours we put in, with the 7 to 6, Monday through Friday, being normal operating hours with exception for weather emergencies. Maneuverability was a concern last time. I'm assuming that you kind of simplified this. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on, how cars would be getting in and out of there? It seems like I don't see that much of an issue, but there is some discussion here in the memo about the no interior floor plan has been provided, and it's unclear how the one garage space would be accessed given the extent of proposed exterior landscaping staging. Do you have any concerns about maneuverability?
Through the chair to the board, when we were down there doing the test pits, maybe beginning of last week, we had the biggest dump trucks we have there. We had them hooked up to trailers with excavators on the back, and I know there's going to be a garage portion of this, but we were turning around in circles with no problem, and it didn't seem to pose any issue to us. I think understandably we know it's a tight site. That's partially why we have rented this space elsewhere to store some of these bulkier things. But in my eyes, I'm expecting that sometimes to get to a trailer, you might have to move a truck, and that's something I'm willing to work with to see this move forward.
Yeah, I think that's all I have. I'm generally in favor with this. I agree, there's a landscaping business right on the street, right further down. What they're asking us for is the fence that they're building higher for the specific reason of the neighbor, for their benefit, and also just the use. So in order to even run any kind of landscaping business here, you would need a special permit, right? And given the fact that this is a mixed-use street, and there's businesses up and down, including a landscaping business, I'm generally in favor with it. I'm glad that I'm supportive of all these other conditions that we've been discussing here, because I think, right, the track record hasn't been sterling up to this point, so I think this is great that we're going to maybe do it up front and make sure that the track record improves for the neighbors.
So just to be clear, I have two questions based on that. Thank you. One is, are you requesting the waivers as stated on page 6 of 11? I know, I thought you were going to get it. The answer probably is yes. You probably have to request the waivers.
Right.
Generally, you want to request them unless you want to
Yeah,
provide this information.
right. Yeah, so we'll request the waivers listed at the end of the
The
stuff.
other is, so just to be clear, because I hear what your concern is, so it's number 10 on the perpetual on page 5 of 11. It says all storage of erodible materials, which they said, e.g. sand, salt, crushed stones, and you understand that also to be that. So is that, does that language work for you? I think it's still set. I don't think that, I don't know, technically.
To the chair,
It's not intended to capture mulch. Mulch falls under organic materials, which is further on in the paragraph, and
Exactly,
that just
that's
says
what I
shall be
understood.
stored in a manner so as to confine odors to the site. I'll just add, this pretty much echoes language from the ordinance about how you're supposed to store this type of material in an open lot storage situation. So it's really just kind of enforcing the ordinance requirement that's already in the ordinance.
Yep. So I just wanted.
Yeah, through the chair, I just want to say, so some of these materials are obviously going to be seasonal, right? So our covered bin for salt in the summertime probably won't have any, we'll hopefully use through all our salt in the wintertime, and then say put stone in there. Again, I don't think any of these aggregates outside of the salt, crushed stone or sand, are necessarily extremely erodible.
They are. So I guess I'll say, we'll ask that if you have someplace where you keep, so just to be clear, since you're here, if you have something like stone or crushed stone or whatever, we'll just ask that you keep it covered and then just have to remove it when you're going to like the zone. And if it's in the same place, it should be easy because you'll already have a system in place. Sorry, my one, that is the requirement. My conservation commission hat time on. I happen to know that there's actually a lot of things that can run off stone and so forth. So my advice to you is just to keep it covered, because that is a violation when it rains, especially when it rains really hard. That's when you'll see it come off. Like if it rains a little bit, you're not going to see it. But if it rains hard, you're going to see slit coming off. So you just want to keep it covered. It's going to help everyone. No one's going to be mad at you. So that would be my advice. But okay.
We are agreeable to that.
Great. Yeah, that would, okay. Board Member Turcono.
Through the chair, I just want to know, let the panel know for the record that I'm finding it very hard to hear. Everything sounds like echo and far off, and so I missed most of the information. But wherever it is, I'm still not in favor of this project, simple and short.
Okay. I apologize. I guess we'll try to speak up a little bit. Okay, we'll try to speak up a little. Okay, so my suggestion for some changes are to amend 1A to reflect the fencing along Canterbury should be pulled back 6.6 feet in front of the building. Oh, it already says that, in line with front of the building. So that's already sort of saying that?
I've drafted language based on the conversation.
Oh, great.
want me
If you
to
have some language,
just
that'd be
read that out.
fantastic.
Yeah, so condition 1A would be edited to say, reflect that the fencing along Canterbury Street shall be eliminated in front of the building. Reflect that the area in front of the building shall be landscaped with trees, shrubs, and bushes, except for a 5-foot walkway connecting the building's front door to the sidewalk. And then strike conditions 1B, C, D, and E. And then correct condition 1F to eliminate and depicting that the walls of the base shall not exceed 6 feet in height. And then add a condition under perpetual that all employee parking shall be located on site. And add a condition to perpetual saying that the hours of operation of the business shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, except for emergency events, something like that.
Okay. Okay, so we have one person, we have one board member who is a no, which means we can not lose any more board members. So if you are feeling like this is still, with these changes, you're going to vote no, you should say so now, so we can let the applicant know and they can make an informed decision. So based on, what is before us is changes to language as discussed. We can ask for a continuation with concerns that the applicant can then go forward and make some changes. We can approve it as with the new conditions as stated, or we can say we intend to vote no and give the applicant an opportunity to then decide what they want to do accordingly. So that is my request to you all is to tell me how you're planning, what you're planning to do, so that the applicant can make an informed decision accordingly. So based on the conversation, I think this has improved a lot, and I thank everyone's thoughtfulness. I'm in favor of voting with the new recommendations as stated. Board Member Bromoff, do you have thoughts?
I am too.
Okay. Board Member Campanello?
I'm also in favor.
Board Member Barnhagen?
Yeah, I'll be voting yes with the new conditions and recommendations.
Okay, and just to clarify for Board Member Torcona, I apologize that we haven't been speaking up, but it sounds like there are 4 currently on board with the new recommendations, and as I understand it, you are still a no. Is that correct? Board Member Torcono?
Board Member Torcornu, can you hear us?
Did we lose him? He got up and walked up. Well, we're sort of at a crossroads, but I guess we could technically move forward and vote without him. There are 4. What do y'all want to do? I'm okay with moving forward if you're... Okay. Yeah. All right. In that case,
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
is there a second?
Mr. Chair?
Oh,
Can
yes.
I just add one more thing? I don't want to speak for Commissioner Horn, but he and I were kind of having a little side conversation,
Yeah.
and I want to make the applicant aware that by having the 10-foot fence as an accessory structure, that I believe that it does require its own building permit, and I wanted to make sure you were aware of that before we move forward and approve this.
Through the chair to planning staff, I think it's, whatever the cost is to that is beneficial to the neighbors and good by me.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Member
okay.
Torcornu, can you hear us? Just want to try one more time. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Board Member Torcornu, I believe the board is about to vote on this application. Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to close? I'll ask you to do it again.
I'd like to make a motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion to close, Board Member Bromoff,
Yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen,
Yes.
Board Member Torcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 32 Canterbury Street?
I'd like to make a motion for 32 Canterbury Street for a variance for relief of 5 feet from the 5-foot minimum setback requirement for an accessory structure, for a special permit to allow an open lot storage use in an MG2 zone, and for a special permit to modify parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, with the staff recommendations as amended to modify 1A to, I need a little bit of handholding here.
Strike.
I know the word strike,
No,
but
strike
to
1B.
strike 1B,
1C.
C,
D
E, and E. Modify 1F for the additional recommendations on page 4, 5, and 6 of 11, also including the addition for hours of operation, and all employees parking will be on site. Thank you, as perpetual, and for the waivers as requested on page 6 of 11 of the staff memo.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Bromoff,
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Bartenhagen,
Yes.
Board Member Torcono. No. And my vote's yes. All right, you all set to move forward. Just work with the city. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much again.
All right. Do you guys need a break? Are you guys okay? Do you want
Yeah,
to
let's,
finish it up?
I'm willing to forge through.
All right. Let's go get Board Member Sacco. Yeah, he's voting on this one. What do we have left? We have Whitlow. You did a great job. That was really, you're very kind and like really walked him through it. And it's clear that the city councilor was the person who led them to Ojeda. Ojeda 4, District 4. It's my district. All right. Are you all here for 10 Whitla? But you're not the applicants? You are. Oh, come forward. Yes. Sorry. 10 Whitla. I'm supposed to announce it. That's my fault. That's not your fault. I apologize. It's the end of the night. 10 Whitla Drive. Please come forward.
For God's sake.
Yes,
Wait,
you are
you're-
entitled to
you're
it.
not
I
a mind reader?
apologize.
Sorry?
You're not a mind reader?
I was, but I
I deeply apologize. I apologize for that. Number 510 Whitla Drive. Thank you very much. I apologize.
Well, good evening, everyone. I think this is a little simpler. I really just want a front porch and to be able to park 2 cars in my driveway. So what does that mean? I am looking for a variance to add a front porch. There's currently a little stoop. I'm looking to add 3.1 feet to that so I can have a full front porch. And due to the easement on my property, we had to put the house on a certain, in a certain way, it can only be there. And so where the house is, it didn't allow for a wide enough driveway, so I'd like a special permit to have that 18 inches on the side setback.
Okay,
So,
city staff.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Through the chair, this is Amy Beth Leith for the Planning Division. Presently on the premises is a single-family detached dwelling. The property has 7,002 square feet of lot area and 65 feet of frontage along Whitla Drive and is located in the RS7 zoning district. The applicant seeks to construct a deck on the front of the dwelling that extends into the required front yard setback and also resolve an existing nonconformity related to the setback of the driveway. So the applicant is applying for a variance for relief of 3.1 feet from the 20-foot minimum front yard setback requirement for a single-family detached dwelling in an RS7 zone. My apologies. The subject lot has 17.9 feet proposed for the front yard setback, and in the RS7 zone, it requires 20 feet of setback. And a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements for the parking setback. Residential driveways must be set back a minimum of 3 feet from all boundary lines, and the landscape setback area of the driveway is only approximately 1.5 feet in width. This lot was originally divided from 12 Whitla Drive next door in 2024 to facilitate the building of this dwelling. The deck was in the original plans for the dwelling, but never constructed due to the additional zoning board approval needed for the front yard setback, and the driveway was not constructed per the site plan submitted at the time of construction. If approved, staff is recommending an additional shade tree in the rear yard in addition to the standard conditions. Thank you.
Would anybody like to come forward and talk about 10 Whitla Drive? Yes, please come forward. Just state your name and city of residence for the record, please.
My name is Vittoria Visci. I live at 12 Whitla Drive, and I think the construction of a porch in front of 10 Whitla Drive would be a great improvement to the street and to the aesthetics of the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak? Is anybody online? Okay. I drove by your house. It would be very nice with a porch. I'm a definite yes. It looks like it'll be a great improvement. Board Member Bromoff.
Sorry, through the chair, I have no comment. It's a nice-looking porch. I took a picture of it. I might put that on my
Okay.
house myself.
I'll recommend my contractor.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. After it's done, then make sure they do a good job.
Yeah, Board Member
He did a lot of work on the original house. He does a good job.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Campanello.
Through the chair, I visited on the way here to this meeting today. It's a very well-kept house and lot. It's very beautiful. I think a front porch would be a great addition. I'm very glad that the architectural designs included the purple door, so I'm happy to move this forward.
Board Member Bart Hagan.
I don't have anything to add that hasn't already been said. I am picking up the mantle that I dropped on the last one, though.
Ah.
You want to request the 2 waivers, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's all I have.
You'll be voting on this one, so Board Member Sacco.
Nothing else to add. I love it.
Board Member Torcono.
No comment. I still cannot hear. All I hear is echoes. So I'm sorry, guys. Pardon me.
What?
What I'm saying is, I can't hear any of you guys because the sound echoes. It's not like before. And I have no comment.
Mr. Board Member Torcornu, if that's the case, I would recommend that you defer or you recuse yourself from the vote or step away from the vote and allow an alternate board member to vote.
I can step off for the rest of the night.
Okay, and let an alternate board member vote in your stead.
Okay, thanks. Board Member Bart Hagan, you're in. Okay, is there, that being said, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second,
On the motion to close, Board Member Bromoff,
yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen,
Yes.
Board Member Sacco.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 10 Whitla Drive?
I'd like to make a motion for 10 Whitla Drive for a variance for relief of 3.1 feet from the 20-foot minimum front yard setback requirement for a single-family detached dwelling in an RS7 zoning district, for a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, including the recommendation and waivers on page 4 of 6 of the staff memo.
Is there a second?
Second,
On the motion, Board Member Bromoff,
my vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen,
Yes.
Board Member Sacco.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, we do have, we rarely get that here. We do have some approval of minutes. I don't think we have communications or discussions of board policies. Is there a motion on the minutes? Wait, we need.
I'm just unplugging.
Okay. Board Member Barhager, would you, as somebody who edited that, would you like to?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended today.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, on the motion for the minutes, Board Member Bromoff,
Yes.
Board Member Campanello,
I have to abstain.
Board Member Barnhagen,
Yes.
Board Member Sacco.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye, all right.
Thank you. Everybody have a
Thanks,
good
everyone.